good. And lastly, Bug is strong against Psychic. Very good. Okay. Oh, hello. Yes, it is time for class. Come in. I'm just grading some papers, as I have to do as a professor. Yeah, no spoilers, but this year's class is doing pretty good. Okay, I'd like to take a bit of credit for it, but obviously it's about how much you study and all that as well. Enough about that though. Let's focus on today's class, which is about Chikorita. As you see right here, Chikorita. Okay, so Chikorita is known as the Leaf Pokemon. And as you probably already know, it is a pure Grass Type Pokemon. That means that it is only a Grass Type Pokemon. Now Chikorita is one of the three Pokemon that trainers typically begin their adventure with in the Johto region, alongside Cyndaquil and Totodile. So, it's a pretty famous Pokemon, in the Johto region at least. Now, starting off as always with its biology. As you can see, Chikorita is very small and green. It has nice dark green buds around its neck. Dark green buds around its neck. 4 very small little legs and a small little tail as well. It has big red eyes, but although they are red, they're very, very friendly. And the most obvious feature is this beautiful leaf that it has on top of its head, right? Which usually is as large or even larger than the rest of Chikorita's whole body. Now this leaf is not just for decoration. Chikorita can use this leaf to fend off potential threats by spinning it just like this. Spinning it just like this. Spin, 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 spin. Yes, kind of like a helicopter, but with a very strong leaf. Obviously, if Chikorita was to move it, it would be a lot faster and a lot fiercer. But I'm just showing you slowly so you can see it properly for explanation purposes. However, that is not all that this leaf can do. This leaf actually emits a very strong aroma, which is very soothing and calming, which could, for example, calm a battle instead of having to use it to threaten and maybe fend away the attackers. It could just calm them down to make them not want to fight anymore. Do you want to have a smell of the aroma? I'll put it over here. Maybe you can have a small smell. Yes, it's very, very nice. Now, Chikoritas are very calm Pokemon. They actually really enjoy bathing in the sun, and they use this crucial leaf on their head to also sense the temperature and humidity of the surroundings. And it is said that Chikoritas use their leaf to find the coziest place to sleep, which honestly sounds like a pretty good use of the leaf. And I can almost guarantee that this is true, as mine right here is always sleeping around in the comfiest corners of my house. Lastly, Chikoritas are generally found in grassland areas, so areas with a lot of grass, a lot of greenery, and they're very calm and gentle in nature. Okay, and let's actually look at some of its moves before moving on, okay? So, as you can probably expect, Chikoritas learn a lot of your sort of generic grass type moves like Vine Whip, Razor Leaf, Leech Seed, the classic grass type moves that a lot of grass type Pokemon tend to learn, especially early on. And obviously it also learns moves that are not grass type, like Tackle, Growl, like most sort of unevolved Pokemon tend to do, right? But what is really interesting is that Chikoritas actually also learn Poison Powder really early on, which is not a move you'd expect from a Pokemon that is tend to be really friendly and calm, and Chikorita really has no ties to the Poison type. In fact, Poison Powder is actually the only Poison type move that Chikorita or any of its evolutions can learn in any way as of now. Like no leveling up, no TMs, nothing like that. And I find it really interesting that it learns Poison Powder so early, considering that, as I said, it has no other connection to the Poison type at all. It's even weak to it, so it's a bit strange. And lastly, Chikorita and its evolutions are quite defensive Pokemons, I'd rather say. Therefore, Chikorita can learn a variety of defensive and healing moves, such as Synthesis for healing, Light Screen and Reflect for mitigating damage, reducing damage from the enemy team, and other moves like Safeguard as well. Now, as Chikorita levels up, it evolves into, do you know what the evolution of Chikorita is called? If you said Bayleaf, you're correct. Now, Bayleaf maintains its pure grass type. And spoiler alert, it's going to be maintained throughout the whole of this class. Now, Bayleaf, however, gets a lot bigger than Chikorita. It gains a very long neck, and the leaf on its head is still really prevalent, like with Chikorita. But however, the buds, the little buds are on its neck, have grown into bigger leaves, which are tightly curled together. That's why they look like that. Now, Bayleaf's aroma from these leaves have this like spicy scent, and they are said to be very beneficial to those who inhale it, having not only energizing but also healing effects. It is also said that Pokemon who sleep near a Bayleaf will feel stronger, healthier, and full of energy. So get yourself a Bayleaf if you need to feel healthier and stronger and you want more energy after sleeping. Bayleaf will generally know the same moveset as Chikorita. They also typically learn stronger and more advanced, especially grass type moves such as Magical Leaf, Energy Ball, or non-grass type moves like Body Slam. Body Slam, obviously, its massive increase in how big it is really helps with Body Slam. Now, let's move on to Chikorita's last evolution for now, which is Meganium. And I want to emphasize that I said for now, because breaking news, some scientists are starting to rumor that in the future a new version of Meganium will be discovered. There have been some strange sightings around the Kalos region recently, and some scientists are convinced, in fact, that this could be an alternative evolution of Meganium, or even a Mega Evolved form, I believe, in the Mega Evolved form, but we don't have conclusive evidence just yet. But I just thought it'd be interesting to mention, to let you know. Maybe you'll learn more about this if you decide to become either a grass type specialist or you try to learn more about the mysteries of Mega Evolution. Still a lot of things that we don't know. We're always making new discoveries. There are actually quite a bunch of really good courses that you can take when you graduate if you're interested. Anyways, before we move on to actually talking about Meganium, are there any questions in general? Yes, so after you graduate, if you focus on the Mega Evolution course, you'll learn about all the currently known Mega Evolutions, maybe some of the ones that we're investigating, knowing, is this just a rumor, is this actually something that can happen? And maybe you'll even go to on the field, for example, and do some research yourself. Maybe you'll even discover a new Megastone or a new Mega Evolved Pokemon. Who knows? That's just the mystery of Pokemon, am I right? Any more questions? Are there any Mega Evolutions that might be discovered soon? So, based on, now this is just speculation, and it's based on my own research and some contacts that I have, some other fellow researchers, professors. I think that there are 3 new Mega Evolutions, which are likely to be discovered soon. You know, we have our suspicions, our research. Those being Mega Meganium, as I mentioned, Mega Feraligatr, and Mega Embor, and we believe those are going to be Mega Evolutions. However, some people believe in other stuff, such as a Mega Dragonite, which honestly I believe as well. I think that was even likelier. There have been some sightings which sound really like legit. They sound like, you know, this could be a Mega Dragonite. And I believe this because, yeah, we have so much research, and it's pointing to we're getting like another Mega Evolution that we have not discovered yet, which is really cool. I think this is so exciting. I don't know, like, if you were to pick a Mega Evolution, which one would you pick to discover? Can you imagine something like a Mega Starmie, for example? How would that even be? You know? This is why I dedicate myself to researching Pokemon. I think it's so exciting to make discoveries like this, you know? Anyways, class, let's get back on track, okay? Unless there are any other more questions that you might want to ask. Oh, about my finger, yeah. Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. Basically, right, let me tell you the story. A student brought me in their Sandshrew, right, asking why it was not evolving after it had battled so much. And I thought it was strange because I know this Sandshrew, I know this student, and they battle and they win a lot of battles. So I was surprised, actually. I was like, why? How come it hasn't even evolved yet, you know? And clearly the Sandshrew, it wants to evolve. It's been battling to try to evolve, get stronger. I take a look, I grab him, you know, kind of like this. I take a look and I find out that it has an Everstone. It's holding an Everstone, which apparently the student and the Sandshrew were confusing as just a cool shaped rock. Everstones, as you know, they prevent a Pokemon from evolving. So I removed it, right? As soon as I removed it, I'm holding Sandshrew. As soon as I removed it, it evolves in my arms. And as you know, its evolution, Sandslash, gets a bunch of spikes on his back. And as I'm holding it, it evolves. One of the spikes just happens to pierce me in the pinky. But it's all good, it'll heal soon enough. Chikorita was there to take good care of me, and we quickly went to the doctor. No issues there, but, you know, an interesting experience. Okay, class, so, unless there are any more questions related to Chikorita or its evolutions, please, let's move on to Meganium before we run out of time, okay? Okay, good. So, Meganium maintains its pure grass typing and is now known as the herb Pokemon rather than the leaf Pokemon like Chikorita and Bayleaf. It gets even bigger, and the two most distinct features on its head, are the one on its head and the one around its neck. As you can see, the beautiful big leaf that Chikorita and Bayleaf both have has been replaced with 2 antennae. And the leaves around its neck, or buds as Chikorita has them and then they become leaves, have blossomed into really large pink petals. Now these petals, they still release a very calming and soothing aroma. And this part is really cool. I think this part of it is really cool. It's said that Meganium's breath, but it's not said, it's proven actually, that Meganium's breath has the power to revive dead grass and plants, which I really, really like. I think that is such a cool power, such a cool ability, rather. It is still a really calm Pokemon, and it has very soothing and regenerative powers that Bayleaf also has, you know. It still has its calming aroma, and it still lives in the grasslands, so in that case, it's pretty similar, if you can call it that, to its previous evolutions. Now when it comes to moves, it learns Petal Dance upon evolving, and can learn a variety of mainly grass-type moves, such as Giga Drain, Solar Beam, and as well as also Frenzy Plant via TM. So very, very strong grass-type moves that you'd kind of expect from a fully evolved grass-type Pokemon, you know, especially a 3-stage Pokemon. Any questions so far? Oh, about any non-grass-type moves? Yeah, so I mean, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Reflect, Line Screen, they're both Psychic type moves, and Poison Powder is obviously a Poison type move. But for non-status moves, Meganium can actually learn a bunch of moves via TM, which are not grass types. For example, Earthquake, which is a ground type move, Body Press, which is a fighting type move, and it can actually also learn 2 dragon type moves in Outrage and Dragon Tail, which is also pretty cool. Outrage is a bit strange because it's such a calm Pokemon that learning Outrage is a bit of unexpected, at least in my opinion. Okay, so we're almost out of time. Too many questions were asked today, I think. But it's okay. I'm here to answer the questions. This is what you're here for, to ask questions, to learn. That's what I'm here for, to answer these questions and to make sure that you take all my knowledge. So, I think as a final sort of point, I want to say that I think Chikorita definitely deserves more love, as it is maybe conveniently less like strong and an offensive Pokemon to battle with, but outside of battle especially, I think it is an ideal Pokemon to have with you on your daily life and just to spend time with. And with that being said, I think class is done. Thank you so much for coming, and we will see you next week. Say goodbye, Chikorita. Bye bye, thank you for coming. See you next class. Oh, hello. Yes, it's time for class. You're just in time, don't worry. So, yes, sit down. I'll give you a minute. And let's get right into class, okay? Today, we're going to be learning about Sprigatito. Now, Sprigatito is a pure grass type Pokemon, as you can see, and it is known as, you will not believe it, it is known as the Grass Cat Pokemon. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, Sprigatito, as you might know, is one of the 3 Pokemon that trainers in the Paldea region tend to start their adventure with. The other 2 being Fuecoco and Quaxley. Now, Sprigatito's name actually comes from the words sprig and gatito. Now, a sprig is a small branch of, like a stem of a plant, you know. And gatito means little cat in Spanish, which is the language spoken primarily in the Paldea region. So its name matches the fact that it is a small grass cat, and a very cute one as well. As you can see, Sprigatito has very soft and kind of pale green fur, and its little coat is actually said to be similar to the composition of plants, allowing Sprigatito to draw energy from the sunlight. Essentially, it can do a bit of photosynthesis, like a bunch of grass types. As you can see, it also has green ears, very big pink eyes, and of course a very, very fluffy tail. It also has 4 little paws. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fun thing about these paws is that when Sprigatito rubs its little paws together, or just rubs anything really, you know, he kind of rubs his paws together, it releases a very sweet and relaxing aroma, which is said to be a sort of therapeutic aroma that mesmerizes anyone near it. This can also be a good way to stop battles in a peaceful way, or just relax anyone in general. even spread this like relaxing scent or aroma when Sprigatito moves around in its sleep. Scientists even suspect that Sprigatito releases its scent while it's sleeping in order to help itself and the Pokemon or people around it relax more easily and sleep better. Sleep better. Sleep better. Which I think is fantastic if you need a relaxing night. This scent will be even stronger when Sprigatito is basking in the sun. And now let me tell you something. Sprigatitos love basking in the sun, as they are able to perform photosynthesis, as I said. Just either like a plant or a good variety of other grass type Pokemon that are also able to do photosynthesis. Sprigatitos also like to take really good care of themselves, and they have a bit of a habit of washing their face regularly so that the moisture in their fur stays intact and their face does not dry out. Sprigatitos are very sweet Pokemon. However, they tend to be very attention-seeking. And hey, don't let Sprigatito hear this, okay? But they can also be a little bit impulsive and unpredictable. And they can get a little bit annoyed if they are ignored. And also maybe a little bit jealous if you pay too much attention to another person or Pokemon. But yeah, don't let Sprigatito hear that. Oh no, nothing. I was just saying how great you are and how much you love caresses and attention, huh? So because they love attention so much, right? I have to keep paying attention to this one all the time. And keep caressing it all the time. And yes, if you want, after class, you can come pet Sprigatito. But it has to be after class, okay? Maybe if we even finish a little bit early, we can have some time for Sprigatito too. Okay, so let's continue the class. Now, do you know what Sprigatito evolves into? If you said Pikachu, you are so wrong, and you should probably revise a lot. Okay, a lot. Okay, come on. You're joking if you said Pikachu. Okay, let's be honest. But if you said Floragato, then you are correct. I'm gonna put a little picture. Floragato is Sprigatito's first evolution, and it is still just a grass type, and it is still known as the Grass Cat Pokemon. As you can see, Floragato is now able to stand on 2 legs, unlike Sprigatito here, and has more defined claws, again, unlike little paws here. However, it still maintains a lot of its features, like the green ears, the pink eyes, and the really fluffy tail. But we have to talk about 2 really interesting things about Floragato. The first one is its actual fur, and the second one is the pink bud that you see on it. Obviously Sprigatito does not have a pink bud, but Floragato here does. So let's start off with the fur, okay? Now Floragato's fur actually changes its hardness depending on Floragato's mood. This means that if Floragato is not in a good mood, its fur is going to be a little bit sharp. Floragato's fur has been compared to being sharp needles when it gets ready to battle. So in that sense, you can know how your Floragato is feeling by upset about something. However, if its fur feels soft and gentle, it probably means that Florigato is in a good and happy mood. So, let's hope that if you get a Florigato, its fur always stays nice and soft at all times, which means you're taking really good care of it. So next up is its butt, okay? And you might think, that's just a butt, what is this? But this is the trick. There's actually a vine tucked inside of Florigato's fur. Think about it sort of like a yo-yo, you know, with the butt being the yo-yo itself. Now this butt is very hard, and Florigato uses it to battle by throwing it. You can throw it at an opponent, you can wrap them around with the vine, you know, or even use attacks with it. For example, if it uses a move such as Magical Leaf, Florigato will grab the butt on its chest and throw it, and the attack will come out of the butt, or just hold it in the hand and the attack will come out of the butt. I think that's kind of cool, you know. Usually Pokemon use attacks out of their mouth, or I guess arms maybe, but I think from the butt is quite interesting as well. Now, as I said, it kind of functions like a yo-yo, you know, so it can be thrown, wrapped, and as I said, it offers a lot of versatility to Florigato. Not only in battle, but in anything really. You need to grab something that's really up high, he'll just wrap that butt around and give it to you. As a fun little fact, actually, Florigatos often play with their butts in their sleep, which I think is really cute, you know, they're just playing with the little butt that they have. And lastly, remember how I said, okay, again, Sprigatitos are a little bit attention seeking, yeah. Florigatos are just the same. They like to show off, and if they are ignored, they might misbehave and even pull pranks on whoever is not paying attention to it. Now, let's move on to Sprigatito's final evolution, which is called, I'll give you 5 seconds. Say it now if you know what it is. It's called Meowscarada. 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 Again, I'll put it right here. Sorry, Sprigatito is very needy today, you know, constantly asking for caresses. Now, Meowscarada becomes a grass and dark type Pokemon now, and it is now known as the Magician Pokemon. It is no longer the Grass Cat Pokemon, it is now the Magician Pokemon, which, by the way, I think is such a cool name, and we will get into why it gets that name in a second. But let's look at its biology first, okay? Now, as you can see, it has grown a lot of fur on its face, resembling a mask, and there is a pinkish collar around its neck that kind of looks like flower petals, and from this collar, a sort of dark green cape emerges from behind Meowscarada. Now, let's also look at the Donphan in the room. The flower, okay? This is where Meowscarada gets called a magician. So, the two things to note. First of all, the flower is not actually floating. And second, the flower may be a bomb. Yes, what? I know. Let me explain, okay? One step at a time. First, the flower is not floating. What? Clearly it's floating. It's not floating. You see, it basically works like Florigato's, but Meowscarada has a vine attached to this flower. However, this vine is covered in a reflective fur, and it is also very, very thin, making it basically invisible, and that's what gives it the impression that the flower is floating. This is also super useful to create illusions, and also to wrap opponents, since they basically cannot see the vine wrapping around them until they feel themselves be bind by it. Now, let's go onto the bomb part. What? I know. Now, the flower itself blossoms into a flower bomb, which is filled with pollen. Chikorita is very skilled in misdirection and will place multiple bomb flowers on the field and is able to set them off before its opponent even realizes what is going on, catching them completely off guard. I know, pretty crazy. And this is actually Chikorita's signature move. It's called Flower Trick. Pretty self-explanatory as well. It is a move that never misses, and in theory will always result in a critical hit, since the opponent is never going to be ready for it. You know, it's a trick, it's an illusion, it's magic. It sounds so crazy, but I think it's such a fitting move for a magician Pokemon like Chikorita, which uses the only thing that, not the only thing, but the one thing that Chikorita is unique for, which is its flower. No other Pokemon has a flower like this with a vine like this that can do something like this. And before we look at its other moves and abilities, I just wanted to let you know that Chikoritas are also very proud and sort of flashy Pokemon, like a magician, you know, they want to show off their tricks. However, they are still quite jealous and attention-seeking, as all of its evolutions are. This one too. And as a last little fun fact, Chikoritas actually will try to perform magic in their sleep as well, which I think is really cool to see how much it enjoys magic tricks. But apparently their performances in their sleep might not always go to plan, and they might make a bit of a mess sometimes. Now, let's move on to its moves and abilities. I know we already covered its signature move, Flower Trick, which, by the way, Chikorita learns upon evolving, but it also learns a lot of different moves. So, let's look at them. But before we do, I want to look at a move that Sprigatito, Florigato, and Chikorita do not learn. They do not learn this move, okay? And that move is Sweet Scent. Yeah, so Sprigatito's Pokédex entry literally says, and I quote, "The sweet scent its body gives out mesmerizes those around it." The sweet scent its body gives out mesmerizes those around it. But this Pokemon cannot learn the move Sweet Scent. I think Pokemon are magnificent creatures. Honestly, they're so interesting. They surprise me on the daily. Anyways, I just had to mention that. I thought it was really funny. What Chikorita does learn, however, are a strong list of Pokemon moves in a variety of types, such as, I'm just going to go through a bunch of examples here. Grass type moves like Energy Ball and Leaf Storm, Dark type moves such as Night Slash, normal moves such as Slash. Yes, I know, it can do both a regular slash and a night slash, very different. A bug type move in U-turn, and even a fairy type move in Play Rough. And also when we look at TMs, there are so many other moves from so many other types, such as, I'm just going to give one example for each type, just so you get an idea. Okay, Thunder Punch, which is electric type move, Aura Sphere, which is fighting, Acrobatics, which is flying, Shadow Claw, which is ghost, Mud Slap, which is ground, Triple Axle, which is ice, Chilling Water, which is, well, water, Power Gem, which is rock, and a bunch of really other cool sort of magic-y moves, such as Trick Room, Skill Swap, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, and so on. A lot of like magic-y, magician-y moves. Anyways, that's enough for the moves for now. Let's now look at its abilities, and then we'll be done a little bit early, so you can leave class, or you can stay behind and pet Sprigatito a little bit, I'm sure. Sprigatito will love it. It has two abilities, those being Overgrow and Protein. Overgrow makes it so that the Pokemon, if the Pokemon is on low health, its grass type moves will do more damage. Just remember that this is specifically for grass type moves though. So if Sprigatito was to be on low health, its grass type moves, but only its grass type moves would do more damage. Protein, on the other hand, is its hidden ability, and it makes it so that if a Pokemon uses a move, that Pokemon will become the type of the move that it is using before it attacks. Let me give you an example. If Sprigatito or Meowscarada has protein and it uses, let's just say, Thunder Punch, Meowscarada will now become just an electric type Pokemon. No grass, no dark, just electric. However, this ability only works on the first move that the Pokemon uses until it is switched out. So if it uses Thunder Punch to become an electric, until it switches out, no matter what Meowscarada does, what moves it uses, Meowscarada will remain an electric type Pokemon in this specific example. Anyways, I hope that made all sense. I hope it was all good. And I think that's perfect time to finish the lesson today. As a quick sort of takeaway, I guess. Remember that no matter how much older or bigger you get, don't forget to get the attention you deserve. Just like Sprigatito here, who is always asking for more attention, and that will not change once it evolves. And anyways, with that being said, you can come pet Sprigatito now if you want. Go Sprigatito. Hello class, happy Halloween. And since it's Halloween today, I thought we would look at some Halloweeny Pokemon to get in the holiday spirit. So, today we're going to be looking at Phantump and also at Pumpkaboo and their respective evolutions, of course. So, let's begin with a rather mysterious little Pokemon called Phantump. Now, Phantump is a ghost and grass type Pokemon, and it is known as the Stump Pokemon. Phantump is said to form when the spirit of a child who got lost in the forest possesses an old, rotting tree stump. I know, it's pretty eerie, pretty scary. Now, Phantump's body is actually made of a hollow piece of wood with two branches that come out of it, and right here, two little arms. And inside, as you can see, there's some glowing red eyes. Now, just really quickly, the leaves that are here on its horns, I guess you can call it, are usually green, but their shade can vary depending on the forest that Phantump lives in. Now, Phantump makes eerie little cries that sound like a child's voice, and many people believe that this is the reason why people get lost in the forest. They follow Phantump's voice, thinking that maybe someone is calling for help, but it's actually just Phantump making its little cry and people confusing it. Despite how spooky that sounds, Phantump is actually quite a timid and friendly Pokemon. As I said, it often cries out with its little eerie kind of noise, but it does this to try to communicate with people who wander too far into the woods. It doesn't do this to harm them, but rather because Phantump is a Pokemon that gets lonely and it's just trying to make new friends, you know? So not everything is as it seems. It is just a Pokemon that is trying to make friends, you know, trying to communicate with people. So, even though, you know, this sounds a little bit sad, Phantump's story sounds a little bit sad, I think that Phantump is a Pokemon that really represents connection and care, you know. It is just a spirit that wants to find its place again. And it's trying to, you know, meet people, make friends, and get it looks a little bit spooky. Now, in order for Phantump to evolve, it needs to be traded. And when it gets traded, it evolves into Trevenant. Now Trevenant is still a ghost and grass type Pokemon, but it is now known as the Elder Tree Pokemon. The Elder Tree Pokemon fits the description in my opinion. Now it is a very tall and ancient tree that has been brought back to life by a protective spirit. Its body looks like an old and twisted tree with a single glowing eye peering through the bark of the tree, I guess. Trevenant is said to be a sort of guardian of the forest, since it can control the trees and the roots around them, and it will use these trees to trap intruders who try to harm the forest. But here is the key word. It is intruders who try to harm the forest. Trevenant is not usually a malicious Pokemon. It only, attacks, I guess, or acts this way when the woods or its Pokemon friends are in danger. Just like Phantump, Trevenant is actually a nice and rather gentle Pokemon. And it likes to treat both people and Pokemon well and nicely, especially people and Pokemon who treat nature nicely, because that is what Trevenant is here for, to protect the forest, and it really cares about these things. So if you take care of the forest where it lives, it will not do anything to you. However, if you harm the forest, you may find yourself wrapped in a bunch of roots that Trevenant has controlled. Now, many travelers have actually said, that when they were lost, the forest seemed to guide them safely home, which is maybe a sign of Trevenant protecting these travelers by moving the trees and the roots to make them a path for them to be able to leave the forest safely. However, Trevenant, as you can probably imagine, is also quite skilled in battle. Let's look at its battle skills, attacks, all that stuff, okay? Let's begin with Trevenant's most iconic move, which has to be its signature move, okay? This means that only Trevenant and Phantump can learn this move. This move is called Forest Curse. Forest Curse. Again, pretty fitting name. So, what does this move do? Now, Forest Curse, what it does is it adds the grass type type, I guess, to its target. So, for example, if it uses Forest Curse, for example, on a Pikachu who is electric type, that Pikachu, for a certain amount of time, will now be an electric and grass type Pokemon. And if it uses it, for example, against a Charizard, who, as you know, is fire flying, that Charizard will now become fire flying and grass type. I know. So technically you will have 3 moves for a little bit. And I'm sure you can guess what happened right here. Turns out that I am part grass type now. For today's lesson, I am part grass type. The effect should hopefully be wearing soon, but I was just doing some research for today's class, and I think I went a little bit too deep into the forest, At least now I smell like lemon. Anyways, other moves that Trevenant has. It has another move that only it and only Trevenant and Phantump can use, as well as the Grookey line. And it kind of makes sense that only they can learn it, because this move is called Branch Poke. Branch Poke, it's pretty self-explanatory. It hits the opponent with its branch. Makes sense, right? And also Trevenant learns a variety of your classic grass and ghost type moves, such as Horn Leech, Phantom Force, and Wood Hammer. Professor will tell you more about those. Don't worry, just ask him if you are not sure. Now, to kind of finish off Trevenant here, I want to mention that I think that Trevenant is a Pokemon that I believe represents the balance between life and spirit. It is a Pokemon that bridges the supernatural and the, I guess, natural worlds, and there's still a lot of mysteries regarding it. But regardless how spooky it may look, it is a gentle Pokemon, showing that once again, appearances are not everything. You can look a bit more menacing, especially because the ghost type is usually associated with a bit spooky and menacing. But if you are not doing anything to it, it's not going to do anything back to you, And now that Trevenant and Phantump are done with, let's look at the other Pokemon that we're looking at today, which is Pumpkaboo. 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 Now, Pumpkaboo is a ghost and grass type Pokemon, and it is known as the pumpkin Pokemon. Could you guess that? The pumpkin Pokemon. Now, Pumpkaboo is a small and round Pokemon that obviously looks like a pumpkin with glowing yellow eyes and a wavy black top half that sort of looks like some sort of shadowy mist, I'm not sure. Now, inside its body, there is said to be a gentle light that kind of flickers like a candle flame. Pumpkaboo is said to carry wandering spirits from the world of the living to the world of the dead. It also often appears around autumn and is commonly seen during certain things such as harvest festivals, where people carve pumpkins to look like a Pumpkaboo for good luck. I think that's pretty cool, that people kind of honor Pumpkaboo and kind of make pumpkins to look like one in order to bring them good luck. Maybe we should try it out. Now, what's also really interesting about Pumpkaboo is that it comes in four different forms, and those are called the small variety, the medium variety, the large variety, and the jumbo variety. Quick disclaimer, you might know them as small size, average size, large size, and super size, but very, very, very recently, in the Kalos region, they decided to change the names of these forms. So we have to use these newer names, I guess, now. So they are small variety, medium variety, large variety, and jumbo variety. And however, these are practically the same. The only real difference is that obviously small variety is smaller, medium is a bit bigger, large is a bit larger, and jumbo is pretty big. Now, as a Pokemon, they are practically the same. The only real difference is that the smaller Pumpkaboos are lighter and faster, but they have less health points, while the larger ones are heavier and have more health points, but they are going to be slower, a lot slower in fact. Now, what's fun about its size is that it is said that the size of a Pumpkaboo is relative to the number of lost souls that were present in the area where Pumpkaboo was formed. It is also said that Pumpkaboos prefer to take spirits who are of a similar size to it. So for example, smaller Pumpkaboo might prefer to take the spirits of smaller Pokemon, or children. Anyways, let's not get into the spooky stuff too much. Despite, all these differences, and despite all of these spooky legends related to Pumpkaboo, Pumpkaboo is also quite a cheerful and slightly mischievous Pokemon. Oh, I think Forest's curse is slowly wearing off. Perfect. Anyways, Pumpkaboo, as I said, they're quite cheerful, a little bit mischievous as ghost types tend to be, but they're known to be quite friendly and actually quite playful as well. I think that these spooky sort of legends about Pumpkaboo are because Pumpkaboos are able to hypnotize both human and Pokemon by releasing light from these holes in its pumpkin. It can release light to hypnotize and sort of control them, you know? So, that's why I think these legends are a bit spooky, because it's like, oh, what if Pumpkaboo controls you, and then who knows what will happen, you know? But as I mentioned, Pumpkaboos are really friendly Pokemon as well, and unless they are provoked, they're not going to do anything. So, just like Phantump, Pumpkaboo also evolves when it is traded, and it will evolve into, do you know its name? Do you know the name? 3, 2, 1. Gourgeist. 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 Now, just like Pumpkaboo, Gourgeist is also a grass and ghost Pokemon, and it is actually also known as the Pumpkin Pokemon. Oh, and also, you remember the whole thing about the different sizes that Pumpkaboo can be, right? It's the exact same thing with Gourgeist. And usually, well not usually, 100% of the times, a jumbo Pumpkaboo will evolve into a jumbo Gourgeist. A small Pumpkaboo will evolve into a small Gourgeist, and so on. Now Gourgeist has a hollow pumpkin-shaped body that glows from within, from the inside of it, I guess, and long, flowy arms that are they kind of look like its hair. I guess it acts as both. Its light that it has, usually from here, from its mouth, flickers quite softly as it moves, giving it a sort of calm but eerie presence. It is also said that Gourgeist sings in the night as it drifts through towns and forests, carrying the spirits of the departed. The songs are said to be beautiful, but also haunting, and anyone who listens a little bit too closely to the song is said to be drawn into a deep, deep sleep, and maybe even become cursed. Now once again, despite all of these ghostly and scary stories, Gourgeist is actually quite kind-hearted. It enjoys giving out candy and playing during festivals, a lot like Pumpkaboos do too. However, it can also become a very protective or even vengeful Pokemon to anyone who mistreats others, or even worse, anyone who mocks the dead. Never do that, especially not with a Gourgeist near you. Now, let's look at some moves, okay? Gourgeist and Pumpkaboo also have a signature move, just like Phantump and Tribunant do. Now this signature move is called Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. And what this move does is that it makes it so that the target Pokemon becomes a ghost type. Remember how I said that Forest's Curse adds the grass type, like right here, unfortunately, to the target? Yes. Well, Trick or Treat does the same, but it adds the ghost type instead. As a little fun fact that I have to say is that in most other languages, Trick or Treat is actually called Halloween as a move. In multiple languages, the move is called Halloween and not Trick or Treat. But in English, we have a Trick or Treat. Just a fun fact that I thought could be interesting. Now quickly, let's look at some other moves. Gourgeist learns a lot of strong ghost and grass type moves as well, such as Shadow Ball, Seed Bomb, Shadow Sneak, and last of all, its abilities are Pick Up, Frisk, and Insomnia. Again, your abilities professor will cover that. Now, I think that Gourgeist is a Pokemon that also represents the cycle of life and death. But it also represents, a celebration, as it is a reminder that even the spirits of the past can bring warmth These Pokemon might look a little bit spooky, but they are generally quite gentle Pokemon, and they will cause no harm unless their loved ones are threatened. Anyways, thank you so much for coming to class, and remember, next time you see a flicker in the forest or a pumpkin glowing in the night, there may be a Pokemon spirit nearby, watching over you. Until next class, and happy Halloween. Bye bye. Hello, welcome to class. Before we begin, I need to grab something from the storage room, okay? I have to get some materials for today's class from the storage room. Use sleep powder. I am the professor today. Welcome to class, everyone. The professor. Oh, he's absent for now. Don't worry, I will take the class today. So, today we're going to be looking at a very, very special and very unknown Pokemon. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Here he is. Look at him. This is Planty, the plant pot Pokemon. Yes, of course it is a real Pokemon. No, oh my god. Okay, it's not in the Pokédex because it is so unknown. Trust me, okay? Trust me. Trust me. Okay? I promise you, I'm not crazy. The test results were wrong. I'm not crazy. Trust me, this is Planty. He's a real Pokemon, okay? Quiet now. Thank you. I am the professor now, and I will decide what I teach. So, let's take a look at Planty, okay? Let's begin. Okay, let's begin. Very good. Planty, as you can tell, is a grass type Pokemon. Grass. So, what can I tell you about Planty? So, let's look at its beautiful leaves, as you can see. A lot of leaves. It is a grass type Pokemon with a lot of leaves. His leaves are very sweet and very, very soft. And they are used to sense the sunlight. Sense the sunlight. You know, sunlight comes here and it senses it. And it also senses food, you know, food to feed itself, you know. It can sense where food is and feed itself. What do you mean? Of course it eats, because it's a real Pokemon, and real Pokemon eat. Of course, come on. And then we have the plot part of it, you know. The pot. This is basically like a shell for protection. It is very sturdy. Yes, I'm squishing it a bit, but it's very, very sturdy. Trust me, very sturdy. Now, as you can see by his beautiful smile, Planty is a very friendly Pokemon, and they are always very happy, as you can see. But be very careful. They are incredibly strong if they are provoked or if they are attacked. Thankfully, I have never seen this one get angry, you know. No, not because it's a fake Pokemon. It's because I treat it well. So he's got no reason to be angry, you know. So, what else? What else do professors do? Oh, yes. We can look at habitats, for example, you know. Where does Planty live? Where can you find one? So, as you can tell, it's gonna be in the forest. You can find Planties in the forest, but they're really rare, you know. But luckily, they are also very common in people's balconies. They like to get very cozy in people's balconies and just kind of chill there. You might not see their face in the balcony, but that's just because they have it covered up, you know. It's not just a plant in the balcony or anything. And you know, Mines likes to stay in my balcony a lot as well. He's always chilling in the balcony with his friends. But for a lot of them, you cannot see their face, but that's just because they are a shy Pokemon, you know, and they don't like to be showing their faces all the time. That's fine. Okay, what else? Oh, yes. Planty. What do they eat? likes to eat leaves and grass, you know, like grass type Pokemon tend to do. They're quite vegetarian. So they're very easy to take care of. I just put a pile of leaves in front of Planty, and the next morning it has gone. It is really weird. I feel like when it's a very, very windy day, Planty eats a lot more, and when the wind is not pushing it, it's like he's almost not eaten. Maybe the wind has some sort of effect on how many leaves they eat from the pile of leaves that I leave in front of them. Who knows? No, it's not because of the wind pushes it away. Come on. Any questions about this beautiful Planty so far? I know. What a special and totally real Pokemon, right? What do you mean? Why is it not moving or speaking? I already said Planty is a very shy and quiet Pokemon, you know. Of course. No, not because it's not a real Pokemon. Honestly, I don't know how some of you made it so far into this class, you know. You need to refresh your Pokemon knowledge a little bit if you don't recognize Planty as a Pokemon. Come on. Okay, you want me to prove that Planty is a real Pokemon? Okay, I'm going to prove it. What is so special about Pokemon? Evolution, right? Planty has an evolution, and we're going to look at Planty's evolutions. I'm actually really excited to show you Planty's evolutions because they are fantastic. Planty, I'm going to move you right over here for now, okay? So we can look at your evolutions. So, here they are. There's actually two evolutions. This one right here is called Leafapot. Gonna put him here. Okay, he's a bit shy. And this one right here is called Florapot. Leafapot, and Florapot. Aren't they great? I love them very much. Leafapot and Florapot. Yes, so they are not one evolves into the other, they are alternative evolutions. So, if you give Planty here a leaf stone, it will evolve into Leafapot. And if you give Planty a flower stone, it will evolve into Florapot. What's a flower stone? Do you know, guys? Do you guys not have Pokemon Geology class? You do? Well, I suggest you revise it again, because a flower stone is a very important and very real stone to evolve Pokemon. Anyways, you have to just revise. You can go revise. So, as you can see, they grow legs. And their leaves, change. Oh, their leaves change as well. No, they're going to use their legs. Yes, of course they can walk, but they're not going to walk now because, as I said, they are shy Pokemon and they're also quite tired. We had a long day, okay? Trust me on this. This is the reason. So, Leafapot here gets more leaves on top of its head, and Florapot grows beautiful yellow flowers. Aren't both of them so pretty? I know they are. They're so precious. I love them very much. And they're still a very, very friendly grass type Pokemon. I know you might think maybe there's something else. Maybe fighting because they have legs. No. They are just grass, okay? Let's see what else the professors talk about. Oh, yes. Moves. Pokemon moves. I'm sure you want to know. What moves Leafapot and Florapot learn, am I right? So, any move that has the word leaf on it, or that has the word petal on it, they can learn it. Aren't they cool, you know? And any other move that you'd expect a grass type to know, these two got it covered. So, Razor Leaf, Petal Dance, Vine Whip, all that good stuff, they got it covered. But they also learn a lot of really cool moves. For example, do you know what move they can learn? They can learn Blizzard. Isn't that cool? I guess it's not super cool, since nowadays anything can learn Blizzard apparently. Did you know Zigzagoon and Dunsparce can both learn Blizzard? What? But yes, it's only natural if Zigzagoon and Dunsparce can learn it, that Planty, Leafapot and Florapot can learn it too. They're way stronger than Zigzagoon and Dunsparce anyways. And as you can tell, they have legs. What does this mean? Kicking moves. So, double kick, triple axle, blaze kick, they very easily. Yes, Blaze Kick, you heard that right. No, they're not going to show you Blaze Kick right now, okay? They are shy, they're not going to just show off their Blaze Kick. Come on, give them a little space, okay? So, as you can see, they are a very strong and very powerful Pokemon. I bet you want one of these now, huh? I bet you do. Well, no, they're all mine. Mine. You'll have to go find your own. Good luck, because they're really rare. They're so rare, in fact, that these are the only ones that I've seen anyone ever have, you know? Hey, that's why they're not in the Pokedex, of course. Yes, I know they're not moving much. It's because they are shy and they're very peaceful and tranquil Pokemon. It's normal, you know? There's a lot of Pokemon that don't like to move much. Have you heard of Slacking, for example? He's always just lazing around, not moving. They are the same, okay? So, what else do professors do? Oh, yes. Abilities. Oh, I hadn't really thought of abilities, though. What abilities could they have? Oh, did I just hear the professor? Did I hear someone coming? Oh, it must mean that the class is over. Oh my god. Thank you so much for coming. Goodbye. Okay, class. Let's resume, okay? A professor. What? Plenty. What are you guys talking about? Let's start class, okay? I think I fell asleep in the storage room. So, we have to do this class a little bit quicker today, okay?